All right, get ready to dive deep. Today we're exploring the world of sleep.
But not just the I'm tired kind of sleep.
Oh no, we're going way deeper than that.
Think like cellular level brain waves.
The whole shebang. You know,
Exactly.
me always up for a good mystery.
Absolutely.
And we've got some seriously fascinating guides for this expedition.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've got this research article called Sleep Recovery and Meta-Regulation, explaining the benefits of sleep.
Okay.
That one's going to be some serious brain food.
Sounds like it.
We've also got one that's a little bit more practical from NASM.org called The Importance of Sleep and Recovery.
Nice.
And that one's especially focused on people who are physically active.
So like a workout for your brain,
Exactly. We're going to figure out why sleep is so important, what's actually happening in our brains when we're asleep.
right?
And we'll tackle that age-old question. Is recovery sleep fact or fiction?
I'm excited to dig into that one.
Me too, me too.
So where do we start?
Well, let's start with the basics. What is sleep, really? I mean, we all know what it feels like to be sleepy, but the research suggests it's a lot more than just squeaking off.
Yeah, it's definitely more than just closing your eyes and being still. The
Right.
research actually challenges that whole idea of immobility being like a requirement for sleep. Like,
Mm,
is it a prerequisite or is it just what happens because we're asleep?
that's a good question.
Yeah, some animals even sleep standing up or swimming.
Wow, I never thought of it that way. So if it's not just about being still, then what's going on in our brains when we're asleep?
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Our brains are actually processing sensory information even while we sleep.
What?
Yeah, they're running in the background. It's called covert cognitive processing.
So it's like my brain is sorting through emails in the background while I'm trying to relax.
Yeah, like it's sorting through everything that happened during the day, consolidating memories, trying to make sense of things.
So is that why sometimes when I wake up, I have the solution to a problem that I was struggling with the day before?
It's definitely possible. All this covert processing is happening while we're offline, so to speak.
So it's more dynamic than we think?
Way more.
Ugh.
And this is where sleep homeostasis comes in.
Okay, sleep homeostasis, big words. Break that down for me.
Basically, it's your body's internal sleep regulator. It's kind of like a thermostat for your sleep.
Gotcha.
So the longer you're awake, the more your sleep pressure builds up,
Uh-huh.
and the more intense your sleep will be when you finally do crash.
So you're saying if I pull an all-nighter, my next sleep is going to be like super sleep?
Exactly. Even if you're just awake for a short period of time, it ramps up the intensity of your next sleep.
Interesting.
And scientists measure this intensity with something called slow wave activity, or SLOW.
Okay.
It's basically looking at your brain waves to see how deep your sleep is.
Okay, so more FSPUA equals deeper sleep.
Right.
So does that mean I can just bank sleep like as I sleep in on the weekends? Does that make up for a week of late nights? Is that how recovery sleep works?
Oh, recovery sleep.
The age-old
The
question,
million-dollar question. Everyone wants to believe it's that simple,
right?
but unfortunately the science is a little bit more complicated.
Wait, so you're telling me my weekend sleep marathon isn't the magic fix I thought it was?
It might not be.
Oh, no.
It's not as easy as just sleeping more to make up for sleep deprivation. Like, imagine trying to pay off a debt with one lump sum payment.
Okay.
You might still have some interest accruing in the background. So
Right.
even if you catch up on hours, there might be some other consequences.
Interesting. So even if I'm getting the hours, I could still be feeling the effects.
Exactly. And that's because a lot is happening when we sleep. It's not just about feeling rested.
Right.
It's about your brain reorganizing information, your body repairing tissues, and your hormones regulating all kinds of function.
But much more than I realized.
It's a whole cascade of processes.
So if sleep isn't just about hitting the reset button, then what's its main purpose?
That's where it gets even more fascinating.
Okay, lay it on me.
The research is pointing towards a whole new way of understanding sleep.
Ooh.
Yeah, it goes beyond just the idea of recovery.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is this new perspective?
It's this idea of meta-regulation.
Better regulation sounds kind of sci-fi.
It does, doesn't it? But it's actually happening inside all of us, all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
So what is it?
Think of it as your body's ultimate control center.
Okay.
It's how your body takes everything into account, like what you did during the day, your environment, your past experiences,
Wow.
even your future needs, and then it adjusts all its systems to keep you functioning at your best.
So instead of fixing one specific problem, it's more like the conductor of an orchestra, making sure every instrument is playing in harmony?
A perfect analogy. And it's about achieving this state of adaptive wakefulness,
Adaptive wakefulness.
which basically means making sure you're equipped to handle whatever life throws at you when you're awake.
Okay, so sleep is a key part of that process.
Exactly. It's essential.
So what happens when we mess with that whole process, like when we're sleep deprived?
Well,
What happens to the orchestra?
let's just say it's not pretty.
Oh, no.
It's like the conductor walked out mid-performance and now everyone's just playing random
That
notes.
sounds chaotic.
Very chaotic.
So all those late nights I'm pulling trying to get work done, are they actually making me less productive in the long run?
That's what the research is suggesting.
Oh, man.
And it's not just about productivity, it affects your overall health and well-being.
Wow. Okay, this is big.
It is, but before we get into all of that, let's take a look at what the NASM article has to say about sleep and physical activity.
Okay, yeah, I'm really interested in that, especially since I'm always trying to optimize my workouts.
Of course.
What does the fitness world have to say about sleep?
Well, the NASM article is very clear about one thing.
Okay.
Sleep is non-negotiable for anyone who's physically active.
No.
Yeah, they even go as far as to call sleep the greatest legal performance-enhancing drug out there.
Wow, that's a bold claim.
It is, but after learning about metaregulation, it kind of makes sense, right?
It really does.
To really understand why sleep is so crucial for physical performance, we have to look at what's happening at the cellular level.
Okay,
Think muscle repair, hormone regulation, that whole recovery process.
I'm ready.
But we'll save that fascinating conversation for part 2 of our deep dive.
Okay, you've got me on the edge of my seat, but before we move on, let's do a quick recap.
Sounds good.
Sleep is not just about switching off. It's this intricate process that goes way beyond feeling rested.
Absolutely.
It's about this amazing concept of metaregulation, which is like your body's ultimate control center, keeping everything balanced and optimized for peak performance.
Exactly. And in the next part, we'll explore how this all plays out in the real world, especially for those of us who are active and pushing our physical limits.
So we're going to uncover the link between sleep muscle recovery and even those all-important gains.
We are.
All right, I'm ready for round 2. Stay tuned, listeners. We're about to get physical with sleep.
I'm excited.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Last time we were talking all about the why of sleep, that whole meta-regulation thing.
Right. All about that ultimate control center.
So now let's get practical. What does this mean for people who are working out, pushing their bodies? Is there actually a connection between hitting the gym and getting better sleep?
Let's get into it.
Okay.
So there's this idea that's been around for years that exercise pretty much guarantees deeper sleep. And scientists have been looking at this thing called slow wave sleep, or SWS. Remember that super deep sleep we talked about?
With those slow brain waves.
Exactly. And they saw this connection between working out and an increase in that SWS.
So basically, harder workout, better sleep. Sign me up.
Not so fast. It
Well,
turns
no.
out things are a little bit more complicated.
Okay, you mentioned that last time.
I did. And more recent research is suggesting that while exercise can affect sleep, the relationship isn't always so straightforward. Some studies are even saying that the real recovery from muscle fatigue might happen mostly when you're awake.
Wait, are you saying my post-workout maps are a waste of time?
Not a waste of time, but maybe not the main thing driving muscle repair.
So they're still good for like relaxation and stuff?
Right. It's about more than just the muscles.
Okay.
And the relationship between exercise and sleep is a two-way street.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of individual variation, like how you respond to exercise and sleep might be totally different from someone else.
Makes sense. We're all different.
We are. So it's about finding what works best for your own body.
So you're saying it's not one size fits all?
Exactly.
Okay, so if it's not just about sleeping longer, is there anything we can do to sleep better after a tough workout?
That's the question everyone wants answered.
Right.
And the research is actually starting to uncover some clues.
Okay, good.
So while exercise may not always make you sleep longer, it can actually affect the quality of your sleep.
Oh, interesting.
Remember the slow wave brain waves we talked about?
Yeah.
So exercise might actually impact their frequency and amplitude, even if it doesn't change the total time you spend in that deep sleep.
So it's like fine-tuning my sleep.
Yeah, it's like upgrading to premium fuel for your brain.
Nice. So speaking of fuel, I know that ASM article you brought mentions how sleep is connected to how our bodies process nutrients.
Right.
I'm all about maximizing my gains legally, of course. So tell me more about this sleep-nutrition connection.
Think about it. When you sleep, your body goes into repair mode, rebuilding tissues, synthesizing protein, regulating hormones.
Okay.
And one of the key players in all of this is human growth hormone, or HGH.
Right, HGH, the fountain of youth.
Haha, yeah, it plays a role in that, but it's also super important for muscle repair and growth.
Okay.
And you want to know when most of that HGH gets released.
When?
During sleep.
So all those nights I was skipping off sleep, I was basically sabotaging my gains, even with the protein shakes and stretching.
That's what the science is saying.
Wow, sleep really is the foundation of it all.
It is, you can't build a strong house on a weak foundation.
True. Okay, I'm sold. Sleep is officially a non-negotiable part of my routine now. But what about the mental side of things? We've talked about muscles. What about the brain?
Oh, absolutely. The NASM article is all over that too.
Okay, good.
They really emphasize that sleep is just as important for your mental game as it is for physical recovery.
Hmm.
We're talking about things like focus, decision-making, creativity, even emotional resilience.
Wait, so those times I get snappy after a bad night's sleep, that's the sleep deprivation talking.
It very well could be. When you don't get enough sleep, your emotional control takes a hit.
Makes sense.
You're more likely to feel irritable, stressed out, and you might react more impulsively.
It's like my brain is missing a filter.
Right.
Wow, okay, I need to work on my sleep hygiene. It's amazing how something so simple can have such a huge impact on my mood.
It really is. And it goes beyond just mood, too.
Okay.
The research also shows that sleep deprivation can mess with your ability to learn, remember things, and make good decisions.
Like when you're trying to focus in a meeting after pulling an all-nighter?
Exactly. Your brain's like, nope, not happening.
Haha, yeah, brain fog is the worst.
Your brain's like a muscle. It needs rest, just like the rest of your body.
I guess that makes sense.
And if you keep pushing it without giving it a break, it's going to start sending you signals.
Like brain fog.
Exactly.
This is making me rethink my whole approach to productivity. Maybe those late nights aren't so productive after all.
Right. It's about finding that balance. You can't pour from an empty cup.
And sleep is how you refill it.
Exactly, both physically and mentally.
I am suddenly very sleepy.
Uh-huh.
But before I go take a nap, let's talk a little bit more about that research article.
Sounds good.
I know you mentioned that it goes even deeper into the cognitive benefits of sleep.
It does, and it gets into some really fascinating stuff. We're talking about the impact of sleep on specific things like attention and memory.
Okay.
It's like zooming in on certain areas of your brain and seeing how they change depending on how much sleep you're getting.
So we're going to get a closer look inside the brain.
We are, but we'll save that juicy bit of neuroscience for part 3 of our deep dive.
Okay, cliffhanger. All right, listeners, you heard it here first. Next time, we're going full-on brain explorer mode. Stay tuned as we unravel the mysteries of sleep and how it affects our amazing brains. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've gone from cells to this big idea of metaregulation.
Right, the body's control center.
And now let's zoom in on the brain itself. How does sleep actually affect what's going on in those 3 pounds of wonder up there?
We've been talking about brain fog and bad decisions when you don't sleep enough.
Right.
But the research digs even deeper.
Oh?
It looks at how specific parts of thinking are affected by sleep or, lack of sleep.
Okay, I'm ready for this brain workout. What's happening in there while we're snoozing?
Okay, imagine this. Your brain's this giant library
Okay.
filled with all the information and experiences you've had.
Uh-huh.
And during the day, it's like people are constantly checking out books, adding new stuff, sometimes leaving a mess.
Okay, yeah, my desk can definitely relate to that.
Ha, exactly. So where does sleep fit in?
Yeah, where does the cleaning crew come in?
That's exactly it. While you're asleep, your brain is reorganizing the shelves, putting things back where they belong, even making new systems. It's consolidating memories, strengthening connections, getting ready for the next day.
So basically, if I'm sleep deprived, my brain's like that library after a rush hour. No wonder I can't find anything.
Exactly, and that's just one part of it. The research we were looking at highlights studies showing that when you're awake for too long, it messes with your attention, your learning, even a bunch of other brain functions.
So like pulling an all-nighter to study might actually be a bad idea.
It might backfire, yeah. Trying to make your brain work without enough sleep.
Yeah.
It's like running a marathon on a sprained ankle.
Ouch. No thanks. I don't need a mental marathon injury.
Right, but there's another layer to this.
Oh.
The article mentioned that some of those mental slip-ups might not be from the lack of sleep itself, but from the urge to sleep messing with your thinking.
Huh, that's interesting.
It's like when you're fighting to stay awake, but that sleepiness keeps creeping in and you can't focus.
Yeah.
It's your body being like, hey, time to power down.
So my brain's hitting the snooze button on my productivity.
Kinda. But it makes sense when you think about it.
How so?
Remember, meta-regulation, your body's always striving for balance.
Uh-huh.
And when you push past your limits, it steps in to protect you.
It's like my brain is looking out for me.
Exactly. And when it comes to sleep, those protective mechanisms are there for a reason. Sleep isn't just about feeling rested.
Right.
It's about making sure your brain's working at its best, both now and in the future.
Okay, this has totally changed how I think about sleep. I used to see it as something I could cut back on when I was busy.
Yeah.
But now I see it as this essential part of my day, like eating healthy or exercising.
Exactly. And that's what we want you to take away from this deep dive.
Right.
Sleep isn't a luxury. It's crucial for a healthy, happy, high-performing life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for all this amazing information. I think we all have a new appreciation for sleep now.
And we hope you'll make sleep a priority, listeners.
Your brain will definitely thank you. 8027?